Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last day in June. My name is Ed Thompson. I'm from Greensboro, and many of you already know that we've been doing several Y-Blast the last few weeks. Folks, I'm pumped up today. I'm going to share my heart with you, and I'm going to tell you a story about me. And also, I just want you to know that that story is so important in the way that my life is changing. You're going to hear the story last. But first, I'd like to ask, tell you that this Y-Blast is entitled, What Makes Your Heart Sing? I have been meditating on that question for a while now, and to clarify, I follow it with, are you living your passion? I want to tell you, I am, and my heart is singing of late. So, before I go on and tell you more, I'd like to say and ask a question of you. During this period of time, i.e. 2020, have you been enduring? Have you been coping? Or have you been adjusting to all that's around you today? You know what that is, COVID, and also the heat in the streets, the riots, the election, and more and more. How are you coping with all that? The reason I ask is because I find myself going, what's coming next? What do you think's going to happen when school does or doesn't start? And I have gone into periods of anxiety. And I'm here to tell you today that I'm walking out of that anxiety room and going into a room of hope. And the two stories I'm about to share are about hope. So let's get ready, and I'll give you the one that comes out of the Bible first. It's about David. It's in the Old Testament. Most of you know that that's where David lived in the Old Testament times. He had a lot of great warriors surrounding him, and the story begins. He walks out into another town and does battle with yet an enemy. Lots of those fights back there. I'm not sure he ever lost one. As he came back to his town, another group of enemy, the Amalekites, had come in, ravaged and raided the whole city, took the wives, the children, the livestock, and everything, and then burned it to the ground. Of course, the warriors and David were not happy, but they wept and they wept because they didn't know what to do. And then the warriors began to get upset with David and talked about stoning him. Now here's the key I want you to hear. At that point in verse 6 of chapter 30, 1 Samuel, David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Lately, when I was in the anxiety room, I wasn't strengthening myself well enough to end up over here in the hope room. But guess what? I've been practicing strengthening myself in God, and we're going to talk about how. One way is to change your question. Instead of what happens next, why don't you ask, Lord, what would you have me do right now? The more I'm asking that question, the more insight I'm getting to my future, and the more my heart is singing with a passion that's coming up. So David, let's finish that up. He asked the Lord also, Lord, should I go after these men? What should I do now? The Lord said, go. And of course, David went and took care of business. There was not an Amalekite living after that, and not one person in his family circle was hurt. Even the livestock all came back. You can read about it. It's beautiful. But remember the question, Lord, what would you have me do? Because that helped me get to this point. We're going to go into Ed Thompson's story of a heart that is singing today. I'm going to back off again and go into the anxiety room. I got up many a day, April, May, and June, and think to myself, I can't live like this any longer. Lord, help me. I'm tired of being fearful. I hate this. And then I ran across this question. Well, what does make your heart sing, Ed? Why don't you pursue that? Lord, help me. He gave me thoughts. And times I believe he impressed the thought on me directly. But he gave me things to read that talked about my passion. Here it is. Teaching young elementary kids about Jesus Christ and his gospel. And these elementary kids aren't necessarily church kids, although I do teach Sunday school, the 6 and 7-year-olds. But these are the kids out in East Greensboro that have never heard God's name or Jesus' name except in the profanity. They just don't know who he is. So I went to Child Evangelism Fellowship. I'm going to tell you that's a worldwide ministry. They have an office in Greensboro, and it's run very well. They actually gave me a chance to get with my church and get with them. And folks, I'm not even going to mention it today, but there's a couple more entities or variables in the equation that may come into this. It's exciting to know they may come in. Right now, I'm overly excited that Child Evangelism Fellowship and my church, Mercy Hill, are collaborating, and somehow Ed Thompson got right in the middle of that. So, if school starts in August, and pray that it does, I'll get to start loving kids in elementary schools, and I will tell you now, folks, I couldn't be happier, and my heart couldn't be singing more. I'll have more to tell you, but I just kind of read this. What passion are you living or not living? And then the other, Ed Thompson, are you making a difference? Folks, I believe I'm going to answer those questions and already do. Yes, I am living my passion and making a difference. With that, I'm thankful for you being here. All of you new viewers, thank you for coming. Folks, please keep coming because I just love having you and I love you. Take care.